Thanks for tuning in to Look at My JPEG, the podcast that discusses NFT, DeFi, and NFT financialization. This is your host, Jose, the founder of nftperp. The reason why I want to do this podcast is because there's just not enough people talking about NFT financializations. In this podcast, you can expect us to invite guests that are builders, founders, even investors that are deep in the NFT financialization space. We'll discuss their story, what they're building, and how you can get involved. So thanks for tuning in.
This is episode number 27. Today we had an amazing conversation with Arcade.xyz. Arcade allows you to borrow and lend against your valuable NFT assets. Their all-time volume just surpassed $85 million, making them the leading decentralized loan marketplace for NFTs. This was a great conversation, and we hope you enjoy.
Good morning.
GM.
Welcome to the show, Rob.
How's it going?
Going well. Friday, yay. A lot of stuff happening. Excited to kind of go through Arcade, kind of listen to your story and hear all about what you guys have been up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as always, these episodes are done live, but they're recorded and uploaded to our Spotify account. So if you're listening live, you want to go back later on to finish the episode, feel free to do so when we launch on our Spotify episode. Welcome to the 27th episode of Look at My JPEG, where we talk to teams, founders, builders that are in NFT finance. And today we have Rob and also Castro from Arcade. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys. Hi.
Hello. Yeah. All right. Before we get into Arcade, why don't you guys give us a quick intro of yourselves? How did you get into crypto? What was your first NFT purchase? And then we can get into more details on Arcade.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having us. My name's Rob. I'm one of the co-founders of Arcade.xyz. Background, I got into crypto back in 2016, mainly just through a friend who, turned me on to Bitcoin. It obviously appealed to my more libertarian, values. And, that was the rest is kind of history. I've done a few startups. I had a Bitcoin mine back in 2019, 2020, done trading, analytics, all kinds of stuff. And a friend of mine, my co-founder, messaged me one day asking me if I knew a ton about NFTs and if we had a fund at the time, asking if our fund had any NFTs. And this was kind of mid to late 2020. I had heard about NFTs, obviously, but I didn't own any and really hadn't put a ton of thought into it. This is maybe pre-Bored Apes even. So this is still pretty much this is the calm before the storm effectively. And my co-founder Gabe was asking, if I had any thoughts around, providing liquidity or using these assets, using NFTs as a way to borrow, which, obviously I'd been doing a lot of DeFi stuff, so that was a pretty familiar concept, borrowing and lending and using collateral. But nothing with, these non-fungible illiquid assets. And at that point, there really wasn't much of a DeFi finance, an NFT finance community or sector, or even very many projects at all. So we started kind of rapping about, what that would look like, thinking about building a team. And, I had some experience, building a team and having startups. So it was a really exciting idea. So we kind of went full steam with it in the beginning of 2021 and grew the team out from there. Castro has been on the team, really starting as our community manager, but now is, really, I think probably more people know Castro than they know me. He's really everywhere. So Castro, I'll give you a chance to give an intro yourself.
Cool. Thanks, Rob. I am omnipresent for anyone who is questioning Rob's claim there. But similar to Rob, I got involved in crypto in 2016, but from a very casual level. I was just getting rugged left and right from all the initial coin offerings that were coming out. So I sort of took a step back and came back in 2020, right in time for DeFi summer. And that's when things got a lot more serious for me. So, the rest is history from there. But shortly after DeFi summer is when I actually bought my first NFTs, and I was just browsing on Rarible. I wasn't really speculating on them at the time. It didn't really seem like that was the purpose, at least from my perspective, to be speculating on these assets at the time. So I was literally just browsing Rarible, and I have a creative background. So I was really like into seeing what people were creating and minting on chain. And I was just buying stuff that I thought looked good, and that I thought I could display one day somewhere. And a lot of that early stuff I bought were from creators that, as far as I can tell, aren't even around anymore. So if they do make a comeback, maybe I'll be holding some grails. But for now, they're not really financial assets. They're just cool pieces that I own. And then obviously as the space sort of blew up and became more financialized, I tried to take advantage of that. But then during DeFi summer as well is when I met Rob's co-founder, Gabe. And, we became friends and stayed in touch. And in 2021, I joined the Arcade team, and it's been a wild, what year is it? It's been a wild, almost 2 years since. It's been really fun and really enlightening, and seeing the NFT finance space as a whole and what it's turned into today is super freaking cool. I mean, like in those early days, I don't think I could have ever predicted what the space was going to turn into, but obviously in hindsight, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, the space has grown so much. I remember one of my first NFTs was these on-chain, very simple-looking. It's almost like a knockoff version of Punks, but they're all the drawing is done on chain and everything is stored on chain. And those are one of the the collections that I collected from early on, one of my first NFT purchases that never make a comeback, but it sits in your portfolio and reminds you of those things. The space has grown a lot. I think dating back to 2016, 2017, ICOs, the communities have evolved quite a bit as well. I think DeFi contributed to that quite a bit, and NFTs as well. Now that people are definitely taking NFTs a lot more seriously, and money markets are one of the most important things servicing assets and financial services in general. And seeing you guys being one of the earlier NFT finance protocols. NFT finance wasn't really even a term 2 years ago. So hats off to you guys being one of the early pioneers in the space. And I can't believe I got you guys on the 27th episode of the podcast. Should have had you guys on way earlier. But nonetheless, appreciate the origin story and the quick background. Now, that being said, now that we got out of the way, let's talk about Arcade. I've taken a look at your Dune dashboard. You guys have done almost 100 million in volume, which is very impressive. Let's maybe dive into like a quick explainer. Like, what is Arcade? What do you guys do? How are you different from other lending and borrowing protocols?
Yeah, for sure. Arcade's pretty simply a peer-to-peer NFT-backed lending protocol. We let users come with one or more NFTs, and they can list them and request stable coins, crypto, Ethereum, wrap Bitcoin, Ape, DAI, whatever you'd like. We're pretty flexible on the currency, and you can borrow against these assets. Lenders can come, they can make standing offers as well, like a collection offer, very much like how on OpenSea you can, there's usually a standing offer against major collections. And yeah, it's a liquidity marketplace. I think where we differ, one of the first things, I think we were probably the first protocol to let you bundle NFTs together. So you could borrow against more than one NFT. So you kind of peruse the Arcade DApp, you'll see a bunch of loans with tons of NFTs in a single loan. And the idea being, it's a little bit more efficient from a time perspective and a gas perspective. Being able to wrap all these NFTs in a single, we call them a vault, and our vaults are a cool feature. They're like airdrop friendly. They're basically like a smart wallet. They let you, they're airdrop friendly. If you have Bored Apes, you can do ape staking through them. So our whole thing has been like, we're trying to make NFTs, have more liquidity, but also utility as well. Let people maintain utility. I think we have a cool announcement coming out later today. This is, obviously for the live listeners, like a little alpha. We have a collaboration we've done with a ticketing platform to let people that are borrowing against their assets also be able to get tickets to in-person live events. So that's kind of our whole thing, is letting people do more with their NFTs effectively. You mentioned we're closing in on 100 million in loans. It's been it's been a little under a year basically since our version 2, which has really kind of kicked off the majority of our lending volume. I think one of the things you see that differentiates Arcade from other lending protocols is we have a very low default rate, and a very high, relatively speaking, ticket size of loans. Our loans are like, the average loan size is around $50,000, and our average default rate is like 3 to 4%. So you have a very sophisticated user base on Arcade. Most loans, they continually roll over. So they're term length loans. They have a due date on them. But most of the loans, a lot of the borrowers, they just keep rolling over the loan and basically creating new terms and just paying down the interest that they owe. Costas, Castro, am I missing any key talking points?
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add, the question was like, what makes Arcade different than some of the rest? And I think that's how strong our engineering team is. We have really Chad developers and programmers. And so we've been able to innovate. Obviously, we weren't the first NFT lending platform out there, but we were the first with the bundles, like Rob mentioned. We were the first with collection offers. We were the first with loan extensions, also known as refinancing on some other platforms. So because we have such a strong engineering team, we've been able to innovate, introduce features, let others sort of see what features are working and what's not. And fortunately for us, all these features that we've released have been working, and then others have adopted it. So I think that's great. I'm not trying to say like we're the guinea pig here, but we've basically laid down the road for what works in this space and what our users want and what users in the NFT finance space want in general. So I'm always really bullish on how innovating we've been over the last couple of years here.
100%. And you can't innovate without repetition and pushing out that first iteration of product and listen to users, get feedback, and having a sound engineering team able to adapt and quickly ship is one of the things that you contribute to wins as builders in this space. So you mentioned a lot. I love to unpack a couple of things here that you've mentioned. First of all, what is the difference between V1 and V2? What did you guys launch back in, was it late 2021? Was it early 2022? And what are sort of the learnings in your V1 that led you to launching V2?
Yeah, I could take that. The V1 was, really an earlier version, just the first iteration. There wasn't a ton of kind of prior art in the space for builders to look on. So our team didn't have a ton of other protocols to kind of look at and review. It was like a really green space opportunity to build, but also a little scary in the sense that like there wasn't a ton of other protocols to kind of model after or kind of assess like their code and look at what worked and what didn't. I think that the main thing we introduced was basically we changed our vaulting mechanism quite a bit, more gas efficiency. These rollovers and the collection offers that Castro mentioned. Those are kind of the main things. Every time, we keep building, we keep trying to, recognize what other people doing in the space are doing that are things that we can, innovate on top of, and ideas that just our own users are coming to us with, and just things we haven't we're interested in ourselves. So we keep adding, building more, more on the protocol side, more on the dApp side. It's kind of like, we're just continually shipping new things inside the dApp, and the protocol side obviously takes quite a bit longer than on the application side of things. But we keep just kind of shipping over and over. It doesn't stop really. So we listen to user feedback quite a lot. But yeah, I'd say those are kind of from a feature perspective, the main things. But yeah, it's from the time in which V1 was like early 21, V2 was early excuse me, 22, and then V2 was like August of last year. So it's kind of amazing, from the January to August, we basically saw like a bunch more projects come to life in this NFT finance sector, which they were able to kind of assess like, well, what are we doing different? What are we doing differently? What do we need to double down on? What are we not doing that users are really asking for and people are using over here, and things like that? So I think we stayed pretty true to like our original vision of fixed term length loans, but there's always like room for improvement and adding kind of more and more sophisticated features and functionality.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, two things that you mentioned that were really interesting to me. The asset vault stuff, like delegation to a smart wallet, like you mentioned, that you can still have airdrop functionality. So does that mean effectively, if I take out a loan, I have, let's say, a pudgy penguin, and there's this event that's only for the holders, instead of being excluded because this NFT is no longer in my personal wallet, you are allowing people to put these NFTs into the asset vault, which you can take out loans for, but still maintain the utility of entering these different events or different perks for having the NFT.
Yeah, exactly. So usually, like on airdrops, there's usually like a claim. Usually nowadays, people don't just send tokens or whatever the airdrop effectively is. They don't just send it directly to your wallet. They usually want you to claim the asset from some kind of claim contract. So our asset vault basically has a claim function. So it lets you call other contracts to interact with them. So effectively, the asset vault is actually now the owner of the asset of the NFT. It just so happens that the owner of the asset vault is you, the borrower. So you have the ability to to control what this asset vault does. It basically acts as like a smart wallet, and then that can go and claim NFTs, and then for kind of like live event functionality, same sort of thing. We're working with one of the leading ticketing platforms out there to basically kind of create the linkage, because the vault is a smart contract. So the smart contract, it's just that you are the owner of that smart contract effectively. So we just effectively help them create the linkage between the asset vault, which is the owner of an NFT during the loan, and you, who's the owner of the asset vault. So there's kind of like a one jump over effectively.
So thank you for answering that. So if I have NFTs in this vault, which I have taken out a loan against, I still want my airdrops, I still want my utility. Say there is an airdrop or even like a free mint for one of the NFTs that's eligible inside this wallet. Would the airdrop tokens go into the vault?
Yep.
Or
yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So you're still obligated to pay off the loan, right? It's really
in order to get your airdrop tokens out.
Yeah, it's in the vault, and then you can claim once you've when a vault is inside of a loan, you have sort of a level of control and functionality over the vault, but you can't withdraw anything out of it effectively. So you can get things to go into it. You could, someone could. It's a contract, so I could send tokens to it if I wanted to. But you, as the owner, you have sort of a restriction on the ability to, withdraw anything out of that vault until you've paid back the loan, which we think is like that. That seems fair.
So, because the natural question would be, can I take out a loan against my let's say an NFT that has staking functions on it. So say Bored Ape as an example. If I could take my Bored Ape, stake it, get ApeCoin as my airdrop yield, if you will, and then I in turn use that airdrop yield to pay by my interest. That doesn't work that way, right?
No, yeah, exactly. We do support ape staking, so the yield does go to the vault effectively. But no, the vault, like the yield you're getting, can't be effectively used to pay back the loan. It's still technically in the vault, which is you can't withdraw. You'd have to be able to like withdraw out of the vault to then pay off the interest effectively.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And with regards to the rollover, can you tell us more about rollover? Like, that's an extension triggered by the borrower or the lender? How does that work? And can the loan this, because I read your documents, it says when you lend out and also when you borrow, you have this NFT sort of representing something like a receipt, like a promissory note almost, that represents ownership of this collection of loans or assets, ownership to the assets. When you roll over, does it have to be the same lender, or can that loan be purchased up by other lenders as well?
So a different lender can 100% take over the loan. And so we've basically created a competitive bid market for loan extensions. And it could be the same lender, or another lender can come in and outcompete them with better rates. But as long as the principal is the same, the borrower is just going to be paying off the interest for that term, and then a new term is going to start. If the principal is a little lower, then obviously the borrower has to pay some off. And then, of course, if the principal is higher, then the borrower is now borrowing a higher amount than original. But yeah, it could be a different lender, and we see that all the time. Sometimes we see lenders get outbid by new lenders, and other times we see lenders who are just ready to move on from that term, and so another lender can step in and take that over. And because we do sort of this agency lending desk that we have, which is mainly me, I'm always helping counterparties get matched. So, borrowers essentially could rest assured that if they don't see any bids on their assets, to take and extend, that I'm probably already on the lookout for a lender to take that over. But I do want to revisit real quick some of the utility stuff that Rob was talking about with the airdrop, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then on a true airdrop, like Rob said, sorry, say it again.
I said, yeah, feel free to take this any direction you guys like.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so again, like Rob said, if it's a true airdrop where an asset is getting sent to the contract address, which in this case is a smart vault that's owned by the borrower, it's going to get locked in that vault. But we do have some other mechanisms in the protocol so users can get their assets straight to the wallet that they can freely use. And so we have delegate cash on the app. We can verify delegate cash for any asset. We have it currently for the Yuga stuff, for apes specifically, and mutants. We have it for clones. I think we have it for doodles as well. But for example, with a surpassed that happened earlier this year, our users were able to delegate another hot wallet to their smart vault and then get the surpass into a wallet that they could now use. Because the surpass, if it was getting locked in a vault for the duration of a loan, was going to be unusable and essentially would have just gone to zero eventually, right? Like they all did once they weren't, once they didn't have utility anymore. In addition to that, we do have a lot of flexibility in the protocol. So we can actually write some custom code to support claims that may not be supported by Delegate Cash or Worm.xyz. And we've had to do that before in the past for artifacts. So there are some situations where your assets are going to get locked in the vault because they were airdropped. And there are some other situations where you'll be able to delegate another wallet to receive the asset in that other hot wallet. And then just specifically on the ape staking stuff, we do have ape staking friendly vaults. So you can deposit your bases or your maces, collateralize them, and while they're in escrow, directly integrate with the Horizon contract so you could be staking your ape. And that ape is not considered collateral. You can withdraw that ape at any time, you can claim your yield at any time, and you can just stop staking at any time. If you have any leftover ape coin in the vault and God forbid you default, then the lender can claim that. But if you're, God forbid, about to default, you can actually just get all your coin back and then you'll just default on the NFT itself. So we do have a lot of flexibility there. The part where we don't have much flexibility is if somebody is sending an asset directly into that vault, because we want that vault to remain locked during escrow so that it can't be compromised, right? And if we, for example, once you unlock a vault to withdraw your assets, you actually can't use that vault again. You can use a vault as many times as you want, as long as you don't enable withdrawal on it. Essentially, you're breaking that vault when you enable withdrawal. And so that's a security thing. We just don't want that vault to be compromised. So it needs to remain locked. You can add to the vault. That's how you receive airdrops. You just can't take away from the vault until you're done with that loan and essentially break it. But if you have more questions on the lender extension stuff too, I'd happy to revisit that.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So now that we've talked about default, what does defaulting look like on Arcade if I don't extend my loan and I fail as a borrower to pay back the debt and also interest? What happens to the NFTs?
Yeah. So if go ahead, Rob, if you want to take it. I'll take it. Cool. So if a borrower defaults, that means that they didn't pay back the loan or extend it at the due date in due time. And what happens at that point is the status of that loan goes into past due. The lender at any point can come in, claim that asset or vault, and now it's theirs. But until they do so, there's actually this little window of time that the borrower has to come back in and pay back the loan. So if the borrower is late, and maybe they've communicated with the lender, hey, I'm on my way home right now, give me an hour, please don't claim it. That can essentially happen, right? Or if the lender and the borrower aren't in contact and the lender just doesn't notice that the loan has expired, the borrower can still come back and pay it after it's past due. So there's a little breathing room there. But of course, a lender might just be watching like a hawk, ready for that thing to expire because the LTV is still, at a healthy level. And then they could just claim it then. But it's not automatic. It is manual. So if the borrower defaults, the lender has to step in and actually claim the asset themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. It probably has, this definitely has attributed to a very low default rate on your platform. A 4% default rate, 3 to 4% default rate is fantastic. Just for the listeners, I'm looking at Arcade's Dune dashboard. Their rollover loan volume is over half of their total volume on the protocol. So that's hats off to you guys in terms of reiterating, and I'm sure a ton of users are being benefited by that. All right, so I think I've covered quite a bit. Love to know for lenders and borrowers, is there currently a fee for trading using Arcade?
Nope, there's no fee currently. At least that's what we've set it at. There's no fee. It's very much it's very very friendly for borrowers, very friendly for lenders right now. And on the no fee on the rollovers. In the future, obviously, I think a lot of protocols are contemplating what's the right approach. Should they be charging fees? If so, how much? I think when you look across the NFT finance landscape, you see across all these different protocols, there's actually quite a wide variety. We were just reviewing this last night. There's actually quite a wide variety in different fee mechanisms, but also how much these different protocols are charging. Obviously, some are like us and they're at the 0 basis points, and then some are quite a bit higher too. Obviously, there's a lot of different types of mechanisms out there: peer-to-peer, peer-to-pool. They'll kind of have ups and downs, pros and cons. But actually, there's actually quite a wide variety of different fee capture mechanisms, and also just fee percentages across the space. But no, we've been 0 fee for quite a while. That's kind of in our opinion, it's an added friction point for users. The space is still growing. We don't if you actually look at the fee accrual at a protocol level, it's not super tremendous. So you're not going to be running a whole team off of fee accrual at this level. So our thought process is let's not add in additional friction just to make a couple bucks, and that's not really it's not really paying down the bills too greatly. But what's actually more interesting, I think, is that protocols can be doing is being liquidity providers themselves. We we don't really do that ourselves too much. I think, my co-founder and I think most people on the team probably are all active users of our protocol. And if you look at the amount of interest that's been generated by Arcade, just recently crossed over $1 million. So that's like real yield that's not subsidized by a token or anything like that. So that's kind of our perspective is, try to minimize fees and, let the value accrual go to the users.
Oh, that's amazing. So you guys are actually loaning out as an LP for a lot of these different loans.
I wouldn't say a lot. I would say, now and then. I think my co-founder has definitely done numerous himself. I've definitely, there's certain collections I'll loan on myself just because I'm a fan. I hold if you bring up a Pudgy Penguin, if I see a Pudgy Penguin on Arcade, I'll definitely, give it a look. I'll put a bid up against it. If there's a terms, maybe I'll just do the loan. I've done numerous of those. Certain collections, yeah, squiggles, things like that. I think it's a great way for collectors of particular projects, particular collections to have exposure to those projects without necessarily having to plop down. If you really love chromey squiggles, for instance, I think it's like the floor is probably around like 10 ETH or so. That's a decent chunk of change right now. You could be having you could have some exposure to chromey squiggles if you're long chromey squiggles by being a lender on them, which so that's a collection I'm also a big fan of. That was one of my, going back to one of your first questions, like what was the first NFT you bought? That was one of the first NFTs, like big NFTs I bought was a squiggle. That's a great way to have exposure to an asset that maybe you don't want necessarily, or you don't have the liquidity for to go out and just go out and buy. It's like a $2,000 purchase, like a $20,000 purchase right now. But you can be a lender on it. You can have some potential upside, and if the floor goes up in value, the borrower is obviously very inclined to pay back their loan. So you're going to get a decent little yield on it. Or on the off chance the person does default, you potentially just picked up a squiggle for maybe, depending on what what the LTV on the loan was. If it was 50-60%, you've gotten a really healthy discount on it. So yeah, I think a bunch of us on the team, and I think that's where a lot they understand this NFT market. A lot of them have biases, and they'd like to own some of these, and probably already. That's why they're lending. It's either really solid yield or potential upside on a collection or a project that they'd like to have more exposure to.
Yeah, I actually just put up my Pudgy today up for a loan on Arcade. Just listed it. See, I'll get some offers. But yeah, I appreciate the insights here. Rob and Castro, we've talked a lot. Is there anything that I perhaps have missed? Some important talking points when it comes to Arcade and what's coming in the future? What should users, listeners should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I'll start. Castro, if you have any follow up, feel free to jump in. I think we're obviously super excited by this kind of newly dubbed NFT summer that we're in. It's pretty awesome, as we kind of said at the onset of the discussion, to see how far this sort of subsector of DeFi, sort of this cross section of DeFi and NFTs, how far it's come in the last 2 years. So. We're very, we're super supportive of everyone in the space, and hope people come check out Arcade and kind of what's coming. Yeah, more protocol innovations coming. If you go on the Arcade DApp right now, in the top right corner, you'll see a little teaser of something that's coming. I think people can probably guess what's going to be coming from us if you check out that little teaser. What's going to be coming in the next couple months or so. But we're big believers in decentralization and kind of the ethos of what open permissionless economies can provide, and we're really excited about kind of what the intersection of the art and finance and culture and and monkey pictures, of course, and so we're building a lot of lot more protocols, more more features inside of the Arcade app, and some some cool decentralization stuff coming in the future. Castro, maybe I'm missing something too. You wanna chime in on?
No, I think you got it, Rob. I think you said everything I would have. So great there. But yeah, just to reiterate, like I'm very bullish on this space in general. Obviously, I'm bullish on Arcade and what we're building here and the team that I get to work with every day. But everybody else who's in the space building other, NFT financial derivatives, whether they are just complementary products or competitive products to us, like I'm just bullish on everyone. And, I really do believe in the rising tide theory here. So I'm just excited to see what the space is going to look like, especially during the next bull, which will be the biggest opportunity for all of us to onboard, a large chunk of people more than we have today. But yeah, every day is a good day here.
Yeah, definitely perps too. I think, these new financial primitives, NFT perps is a super cool platform there. I think all this is just, it's just, these are the, it's still so early, but these are like the protocols, and this is the platforms and use cases that are gonna, really bring in more and more users. I think while the rest of the crypto is in some ways becoming a little stagnant with endless meme coins, NFT and NFT finance is still innovating and bringing in really cool ideas. So yeah. Also, hats off to you guys for building a really cool platform there.
Oh, I appreciate it. We're just a bunch of degens trying to solve our own problems that you can't gig along or short NFTs, so we decided to build it ourselves.
There you go.
Yeah, Rob and Castro, appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a pleasant chat with you guys, and I 100% agree on the ethos of decentralization, permissionless, and that the rising tide kind of lift all boats theory here. So let's keep in touch. We would love to see what you guys have coming up in the future, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Happy Friday. Take care.
Yes,
Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Look at My JPEG Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast from, give us a like, a subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.